$6 million of it guaranteed at signing. And so this is why the Eagles are elite. They write a huge check with most of the money up front, meaning they can escape by year 2. I don't think they'll want to, but running back Saquon's been hurt. They can get out of it. This is what Arizona, Chicago, Cincinnati, that is the space those guys don't operate in. They did this with Carson Wentz. Philly takes big swings, and they write big checks up front. And so they can get out of stuff. And the Saquon deal is a massive check. And until the Raiders recently got a couple of new investors, they couldn't write these checks. Chicago doesn't write them. Cincinnati doesn't write them. Arizona doesn't write them. I mean, all legendary poker players, every Phil Hellmuth down, is they are selectively aggressive. They do not always have the best hand. You gotta be aggressive. And I think the heart and soul. Remember, Howie Roseman, this is a team that got to a Super Bowl, and they win a Super Bowl, and everybody wants to bring everybody back. And I'm not a fan of that. I think you got to keep moving the roster in professional football to keep everybody fresh. I think they're going to move off like 7 or 8 guys. You cannot move off Saquon Barkley. There are 3 or 4 players on the Eagles you can't duplicate. You can't duplicate Jalen Carter on a rookie contract. You cannot replace Saquon Barkley. Even Derrick Henry's not this. So the soul of the Eagles to me is GM, O-line, quarterback, Saquon Barkley, and Jalen Carter. And there was this ridiculous narrative that was happening for about a year ago. Running backs, they're going extinct. No, they're not. The most important football games in this league are played in December, January, and February. It gets cold and windy, and nobody is more valuable to a quarterback than a great running back. And what I love about Saquon Barkley, among other things, class, quiet, head down. I mean, this guy played bad O-lines at Penn State, bad O-lines with the Giants, never complained a single time. He does it the right way, so I could not be happier for Saquon Barkley. And I know a lot of people out there, running backs a dime a dozen. No, they're not. No, they are not. The O-line, as a collective, is really the centerpiece of the team. But when Saquon didn't have a great O-line, he was still remarkable. And all the smart people knew it. So.
Ooh, that might be shot. That's shots fired. And Nick Wright didn't know it. So is he saying that Nick Wright's not smart? I'm just kidding. They're obviously friends. Okay. First off, it's just funny where he's like, you can't move off Saquon Barkley. Yeah, no one who was ever contemplating moving off Saquon Barkley. Like, I don't even understand that. But in terms of how the Eagles kind of spend money and how they do it, right? When they put up that money up front, it really does fall on ownership in terms of allocating that money. And the difference about the Eagles is that they keep doing it even when it doesn't 100% work. And John Middlecoff highlighted this indirectly when he referenced how the 49ers are kind of like this to a degree. How the 49ers are like this to a degree. But then when things don't work, they then kind of start to pull back and they're like, we don't really have the money right now. We're going to have to do this. We're going to have to do that. And kind of how, their tune changes. Whereas the Eagles, they take big swings. They try different things. If it works, obviously awesome. And if it doesn't, they're not like, what are we going to do? We're going to have to just step. No, they're still aggressive. They still make moves. They still do it. They still put out the money. And that's why they've been, it's almost like not even right to say that they've been the second most successful team in the last 25 years to only the Patriots, who the Patriots, obviously the dynasty, Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and they were so dominant. So they have the number 1 most playoff wins, but the Eagles are second in that regard. And they did so without, a Bill Belichick, Tom Brady combo here. So it just makes it all the more remarkable what the Eagles have been able to do in the last 25 years with, I guess it would probably be 4 different coaches with, Andy, Chip Kelly, Doug Peterson, Sirianni. I believe that's all there was. I don't know if there was another random in between that time. There may have been. Honestly, I can't remember that far back. Multiple quarterbacks, a ton of random quarterbacks as well. And so to see what they kind of continue to do is, it's really remarkable. And it shows why they're elite and how they kind of, they've proven that their success is not dependent upon a quarterback or a coach, which matters. Because when you have these other teams, like who are the Kansas City Chiefs when Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes aren't there? We know what they are. Not good. Not good. Who are, who are the New England Patriots without Tom Brady and Bill Belichick? Not good. We know that. Not good. We know what they look like without Tom Brady. Who do the Eagles look like without Sirianni and Jalen Hurts? Oh, they won a Super Bowl. Okay, cool. Those things matter. Who are they without Saquon Barkley? Oh yeah, they got to a Super Bowl and were a play away from winning said Super Bowl against Kansas City Chiefs. Who are they without Jalen Carter? Oh, Super Bowl team. You know what I'm saying? We could do that with all of these players. And so that's what just shows you that it's the organization as a whole, which again, if you're an Eagles fan, it's just the best place to be, because you could be confident when it is time to move on from Saquon Barkley. And fortunately, that day is not today. They'll find their way through it. And I will always push back on the, undeniable love of Saquon Barkley, because make no mistake about it, I will continue to emphasize this. Do not let them gaslight you in believing that everyone acted like adding Saquon Barkley was this guaranteed, easy, no-brainer decision. Because the Eagles got a ton of criticism for paying for Saquon Barkley, paying the amount of money that they paid him, last season. And that he's injury prone, and that he only had one good year. And it was not just Nick Wright. It was a lot of people. A lot of media people, fans, etc. So do not pretend like that this was just obviously, no-brainer decision. Because it was not. It was not. So, if he was so well sought out, then the Giants could have been more strategic with their decision making, with what they were going to do. They could have signed and traded him. They could have figured something out if there was a real true frenzy over him. But there was the feeling of maybe the Eagles are interested, maybe the Bears are interested. We'll see who overpays him. Who overpays for him. Best of luck tying up your financial situation in some aging, old, injury prone, kind of good, sometimes great running back. So yeah, that narrative, that revisionist narrative will always drive me crazy, quite frankly. We got the receipts for it. I did the videos, man. And just look it up now, just on YouTube in general. You just look up Saquon Barkley and just look up last year's takes, and you'll see there's definitely some people that are pro it. And to be fair, Colin was absolutely one of them. But it was not this unanimous move. And so that continues to be an incredibly amazing move by Howie Roseman, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the willingness of Jeffrey Lurie. Jeffrey Lurie could have inserted himself and said, no, running back. We could just draft a running back in the second round. That's what a lot of owners do, man. That's what a lot of owners do. And, on this show of the Herd, he's having, I think his name's Steve Keim, the old GM from the Arizona Cardinals, who actually I still don't really know what happened to him in Arizona, some personal type stuff, but he seems like a good guy, and he's an honest, genuine guy, and he's given his honest takes now that he's no longer a GM, and I remember vividly, it was a few years ago, I think it was maybe after he was officially, officially gone from Arizona, and he went on Colin's show, because I think they actually are legitimate friends. And he said, listen, all of the internal research and information that we have is that, there's really no point in paying for a running back, and there's no point in wasting a draft pick in the first round for a running back, that you're really going to be able to get 90% of the production from a running back that you can get like in the second, third round, etc. That there's no real point, and that was becoming the prevailing perception of running backs. It just was. That was the conversations, and the only people that were pushing back against that were current running backs and retired running backs who are like, no, running backs are really important. Running backs are really important, and whether they're in the media or just podcasts or whatever. So again, like, yeah, running back stock was absolutely going down. Again, look no further how not many teams were salivating, who were fighting to get Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry. When in reality, the way how both those players played, every single team, I'm not really sure if there's a single team that shouldn't have gone after them, especially for the amount of money that you get them for, like 9, 12, 13 million dollars. Considering their production, it's better than any 30 million wide receiver out there. And yeah, they can be dependent on O-line for sure. But, you know, I got news for you. So are wide receivers. So are tight ends. You know, like, so are quarterbacks. Like, it all matters. Heck, so are defenses. If you keep getting pushed back further and further and further, it puts so much more pressure on the defense now. You think the defense wants to get the ball, you know, wants to take the field on their own 30, their own 40, and no, oh my God, it's all hands on deck. We got to do everything we can to keep them out of, you know, to minimize just to a field goal attempt. So it's football. It just continues to be the ultimate team sport. And to even just say, have Colin just to say kind of like, oh, the focal point is the O-line. You know, 1 minute it's the defense, 1 minute it's Saquon, 1 minute it's the O-line, 1 minute it's Jalen, 1 minute it's Syria. You know, it's just like, I can't keep up where the focal point is anymore. It's almost just like that the Philadelphia Eagles are a great team. And what makes them special is the fact that they're greater than the sum of all of their parts, which is not only because of the talent that is there, but the coaching, the culture, and the belief and the work ethic and what this team puts in, because what they're all trying to achieve. And that's a Super Bowl, and they did it. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Philadelphia Eagles? I love this question where it says, clear Barkley deserves big payday. Yes. The answer is yes. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.